Welcome back to another show, everybody. I got a guest in the studio. First-time guest, long-time listener, maybe, I don't know. He's going to have to tell us. This one is brought to you by, not an ad, but I got I don't know what he calls himself. We'll just go with owner for now. Maximum Effort Coffee Company. I picked up a few bags. You might have checked out the reel. I got Jace Wheeler with me. What's up, Jace? How you doing?
Hey, thanks, man. Appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, so me and Jace known each other a long time. Back when he was a wee little first class still in the Navy, before he got that good life of retirement. And when I was just a little punk ass E5 still running around thinking that I knew everything I knew more then than I even know now, right? So, Jace, again, thanks just for stopping by this morning. Still, it is, right? And sorry, just PT'd and still sweating. So yeah, so Jace, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so right now I'm obviously a retired veteran, but, I served 20 years in the Navy. I retired as a senior chief. Obviously, we had a long tour together. I was there on the Russell for like four plus years.
Yeah.
So it was good times. We had a lot of fun times, a good crew.
Yeah.
During that time frame. A lot of adversity, very strenuous operations for that particular ship and platform. Done a couple of instructor tours, staff duty. My last tour was the USNS Mercy hospital ship. I was on there for like 5 years.
Damn.
Yeah, it was a long tour. Originally, I was just planning on doing 3, and then kind of moving on, see what else I can do. Obviously, following the senior chief pipeline, but cancer hit me. And so things the dynamic changed a little bit there, being on active duty. And also, I think with cancer, I was already kind of leaning towards retirement, but then the cancer kind of sealed the deal on that one for me. So I kind of made a decision on that. But, post retirement's been great. I got 2 companies, got Maximum Effort Cybersecurity. So I provide consulting services to companies that support the DoD. I'm currently working on a project for DISA, Defense Information Systems Agency, and that stuff affects a lot of different computer systems and stuff like that throughout the DoD, approximately over 5 million endpoints. So it's kind of cool, and get to be my own boss. And then, lately, just July 1st, I started the coffee company, Maximum Effort Coffee Company, and appreciate buying in and supporting that. And
for sure, bro, for sure.
Primary mission of that is to, give back to those struggling with cancer, 10% donation to American Cancer Society. My kind of tagline, although it kind of morphed that way, was, every cup is for the cure, is kind of where I settled on. I kind of used the hashtag. I use some, I don't know, can I curse on this?
Oh, yeah. Okay. This is sailor approved here.
Okay. But I use the hashtag fuck cancer a lot. That's kind of my, that was kind of like a stalwart of going through cancer, is that, whatever you got going on, fuck this shit, I'm going to get through it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And my company's, the branding is kind of Maximum Effort. And those people that kind of known me, throughout my life and my naming my career, especially too, if we work closely with it, and I think you can attest to this, is my work ethic when you knew me, and how I cared about my job, and how I cared about the sailors, how I go about handling things. I give my maximum effort, and I expect the same from the people that work for me. And I think that's just kind of my personal brand. So whether it's being a veteran, whether it's being active duty, whether it's fighting cancer, just living my life, I try to do, give my maximum effort to that. Being a father, supporting my family, stuff like that, doing those things. So I think that's kind of where I settled on, and I've kind of transcended that personal motto to both brands, both the cybersecurity and the coffee company. But yeah, really, a lot of my focus of late has been on the coffee company and trying to get the name out there, trying to get people to try it. 10% discount for veterans, active duty military, teachers, first responders. I think those are those people that contribute a lot to helping people out and stuff like that. That's kind of what we're about. especially nurses. You know, I'm big on nurses.
Yeah.
I know you got one, right?
Yep.
I'm really big on nurses. My mom was a nurse. You know, she was a nurse for like 40 years. A lot of our friends are nurses. My wife's Filipina, so a lot of nurses are Filipinos, namely two. On the Mercy, I worked with a lot of nurses, a lot of surgical nurses, OR nurses, ER nurses, recovery nurses. So, I mean, nurses were helping me going through my treatment. It was chemo, radiation, stuff like that. So I have a very fond appreciation for nurses. So, you know, I have a coffee bag kind of nurses oriented. I call it nurses nectar, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But most nurses live off coffee. They work long shifts, and you know, they have arduous work schedules. So, you know, coffee helps fuel them. So I thought it was important to kind of, you know, give back to the nurses that helped me out. And like I said, my mom was one. So nurses will always have a special place in my heart. So do that. And of course, I got veteran themed bags. A lot of the bags are either based off their orientation, like where they're from. They'll have picturesque scenery from that location based off the origin of the coffee, or I branded something to be like it's important to me, or like things that are important to me, like being a chief, right? You know, I did that for 20 years, so that's where 1893 Reserve came in. It's my whiskey barrel-aged coffee, and it's got a little pop to it, you know.
I haven't tried that one. I just picked up a few bags. I think Nikki actually saw the nurse's nectar one at the hospital. I think everyone knows already, but she works at the ICU there, and I was mentioning that you started this coffee company and everything, and I was ordering some bags, and I showed her, and she was like, "Yeah, I think someone had that." She remembers seeing the pictures, you know, vaguely, right? Because again, it's night shift. It's 2, 3 in the morning, and someone's brewing some coffee, like as you said, and so I got 4 bags. I gotta get the nurse's nectar one. I'm gonna send send it to work with her. I'm gonna send one of the other bags to work with her this weekend to help that, because I understand, like, and it's interesting how you brought up, like, one, your mom, right, nurse, obviously raised you, right. But then the other impact of the nurses in your life through your chemo and through your cancer treatment and everything, right? I find it very interesting how you don't mention the doctors, right? Because, one, they're there, but I don't think people realize how much nurses are there a lot more than the doctor in a lot of instances, right? The doctor just kind of comes in, checks on you, says this or that, and then the nurse carries it out. So a lot of respect, from me and my family who have the nurse in the family, right? For you to, like, recognize that and make that bag special, giving that shout out to them. So we appreciate that. Let's talk about, so you mentioned your career briefly, right? We're on the Russell Together Destroyer, and then kind of go through that stuff. When in your career, like, did you find out the cancer that you had? And then how did you immediately respond? And then, like, how did your work life respond to it? Like chain of command, stuff like that. Because we all know, and I put out some episodes lately, right? And we were kind of talking this a little bit beforehand. You mentioned giving a fuck, right? And if you're giving a fuck, then you should be giving that maximum effort. Part of your just life mantra, it seems, right? So, like, how much did your chain of command give a fuck? And because we always hear about junior sailors nowadays. I know you've been retired since when? 2019?
In October 2020.
October 2020? Okay, so a few years now, right? So kind of really, man, out of touch maybe? I know your son, you have one son that's in now, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, so, but I don't, you're busy. You got 2 businesses now. I don't think you're keeping up on the latest nav admins and changes and stuff. But during that time while you were in, how did you feel their response for you was? And did you feel it was appropriate? And do you feel like that would have been the same response for anyone with your specific chain of command?
Yeah, so it's it's kind of an interesting story, but and it's actually kind of tied with the launch of the coffee company. So I was diagnosed with cancer in July of 2019. Oh. And coincidentally, I that's why I launched my coffee company July 1st of this year. It signifies that time frame. So while I'm going through the motions with the coffee company right now, I'm this would have been the same time frame that I was dealing with treatment and stuff like that through cancer. And so how I found out was I had a sore throat, and it bothered me. I've been doing all the taking the over-counter stuff, get a cold pack from medical, they love to give those lozenges out, and it just wasn't working. I went back to Doc and then asked Doc for a referral. Doc sent me the referral. So I went up to Balboa to see ENT, and the cool thing was one of the ENT docs was actually on deployment with the Mercy. So I knew him. I had worked with him. So he pretty much knew, just looking down my throat right away, he already knew that I had cancer just looking at it, because you could see the tumor on my tonsil. So
shit.
But they did the biopsy and stuff like that, but it came back, and then they worked up a treatment. And I mention nurses a lot because they're the front lines, kind of like the enlisted, the chiefs. We're on the deck plates, right? The triad, the COs, the officers, department heads, stuff like that. They're kind of off doing their thing, but we're down in the trenches. And that's kind of like what the nurses do, right? But not to say that I didn't appreciate my oncologist and my radiologist. They were really great to me. Dr. Tracy and Dr. Beard, I really appreciate what they did for me. They were really aggressive. Dr. Ambrosia, for that matter, he's my ENT. But they, would let the obviously, it couldn't have happened at a better place, right? Because I was on a hospital ship, right?
Yeah.
So my chain of commands is all doctors, surrounded by doctors, nurses, stuff like that. So one of the primary tenets of being a doctor is patient care, right?
Yep.
And they have their own oath to uphold. So I think that was a benefit to me. I don't know that if I was on a shooter that I would have been afforded that opportunity. I probably would have been kicked off the ship, limb due, something like that. But I had been on that ship for, that was 3.5, almost 4 years probably at that point. And I had a lot of business intelligence, 2 deployments, multiple exercises and stuff like that. So for a while I could still contribute. I was able to go to meetings. It didn't really hit me till about halfway through my treatment. That's when things got kind of rough, and I didn't really have the energy to go into work. I still maintained, for a little while I did phone calls, I dialed into conference calls and stuff like that. We had that capability. Email, fortunate we had email on the phone, so I was able to kind of stay in touch that way. But my chain of command was extremely supportive, Captain Rochuck and Captain Boama. So really close with them. They always keep in touch with me. So they're doing good things out in the fleet. But yeah, chain of command was super supportive. Couldn't ask for a better chain of command. And like I said, that's not always the case. I mean, there's you have operational requirements. If we were slated for a deployment, I don't know what would happen. They might need a senior chief, an IT senior chief, to be able to fill that role for an operational deployment, and to free up that billet, maybe I would have had to go, limb due.
Yeah.
A lot of it, I think, was, timing, right circumstances. I think if maybe it was somebody else, maybe not the case, you know what I mean? If I was a dirtbag, certainly not, right?
Yeah.
But obviously they still had that I could offer value even while I was going through treatment. And subsequently, after I finished treatment, we got, obviously, I got out towards the end of 2020, but also in 2020, we faced COVID, right?
Yeah.
And that affected everybody's lives. But the Mercy did a COVID response to LA. We were up in Long Beach. And I had finished all my treatment, so I clarified with my doctors. But one thing that was important to me, when I go back to my mantra, maximum effort, I give a fuck, right? So I didn't want the ship to go to Long Beach without me, right? So I asked my doctors if I was clear to go, knowing that I could still be vulnerable.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody didn't really know how it was affecting everybody, but some more than others, right?
Yeah.
But certainly I could have been slightly immunocompromised. And, there's a lot of, if we bring on sick patients, then, that's that. But my office is actually in one of the ICUs. So it was you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I had to walk through, you have to walk through the hospital, and maybe not necessarily like isolation ward or anything like that, but I have to walk through the hospital in order to get to where my office is. But they cleared me, and so I went with them to LA as part of that response, and it actually was very beneficial to me. I mean, at the time, I think I was still drinking like protein drinks and ramen. It was really hard for me to swallow and stuff like that. And one of the things that it helped was it opened up my palate to be able to take on, more solid food. I didn't feel right just sitting in my office, like eating ramen. So I went to the mess decks and went to the cheese mess and stuff like that and ate with the sailors. And I ate what they were having. So it was, we're having meatloaf, mashed potatoes. I was trying to put down meatloaf and mashed potatoes. It might have been hard.
Yeah.
But it worked, and I started taking on, putting on weight, because I had lost like 50, 60 pounds. Yeah. I think I was down to like 120, 125. I was back in like high school weight. It was pretty low. Good thing is I lost my, beer belly, but
yeah.
It was a really positive thing. The other, I guess I would say like a byproduct or benefit of cancer. I mean, I don't wish cancer on anybody, but I lost a propensity to eat like sweets or sugary things. I don't have the taste for it anymore. So I don't drink soda. I don't eat cakes, cookies, ice cream. Tastes like shit to me. So
like the taste of it now is bad. It's not that you don't crave it. Well, I mean, I guess after a while now, how this long, if it tastes like shit when you eat it, you don't crave it anymore.
Yeah, now
but is that so? Like you've lost, like it literally does not taste good anymore.
Yeah, it doesn't. Soda tastes kind of flat, like it's been open. But I mean, there's times where I'll go through the motions just to feel normal sometimes. So I might get a soda at the movie theater if we go there, watch a movie. Yeah. I'll get a soda. But it tastes like crap. Sometimes I'll just get water. And then, every now and then, like if my daughter makes brownies with her friends, I'll try it. But it's like a bunch of just gooey mush, like chocolate.
Like, do you taste the chocolate? Do you like? Is it
not too much?
Is it? Do you like? I mean, it's straight because even during COVID, people said they lose taste, and I'm pretty sure I had COVID myself a couple times,
right? Even
before it was COVID, right? I never felt like I lost taste or smell or anything like that. So I'm just trying to like wrap my head. That's always one of those interesting things to me. Like what would that be like to? And I don't want to find out, especially through cancer.
Sure.
Don't get me wrong, you know what I mean? But like, what is that like? Is it just you just put it and it's just no taste at all? So it's just you're chewing on something mushy?
Yeah, it's kind of like I have the sensation, obviously I can feel the texture and stuff like that, but it's just not the, sugar changes things, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the reason why sugar is in everything nowadays, you know what I mean? Because people enjoy it, right? It makes you feel good, but if I can't taste it, if I can't taste what the sugar provides in that particular food, then it's not worth it to me, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I was still blessed to like taste other things, so like I kind of shift focus more to like I can still enjoy a good steak, right? You know what I mean? But yeah, just all those things that not necessarily bad for you, but everything in moderation, right?
Yeah.
But if you overindulge in those kinds of things, obviously you're gonna put on weight if you're not doing anything about it. But in that regards, it's really helped me out because I won't struggle as much as other people in our. I want to say we're not elderly, but you know what I mean. But for a mid-40s guy, you know what I mean. If you're not doing something active, and I have a very sedentary lifestyle, running 2 companies from a computer, at office at the house, but very sedentary lifestyle. I had a sedentary lifestyle in the Navy, being IT, sitting at a computer all day. So I think that those. I'm blessed in that regards that I don't have those kinds of calories to worry about, you know what I mean? Certainly I could take it from other things, alcohol or, whatever, you know what I mean?
How does alcohol taste for you? Because, I mean, alcohol a lot of times has sugars or depending on what you drink, right? Is it more alcohol-y or anything? What is that?
So, again, it's, there's so many different parts of the palate and the tongue and stuff like that and what responds to taste, but I'm blessed in the regards that I can generally taste a shit beer from a good beer. You know what I mean?
They all taste like shit to me.
But I think it again, it's everybody's palate, right?
Yeah.
I'm not a really hoppy IPA type of person, but other people are.
Yeah.
But I'm not into that. I'm not into fruity beers, but I could drink a nice red amber. That tastes good to me. I drink some local San Diego stuff, 394 Pale Ale. I'll drink that. But yeah, whiskey. I like, I like Buffalo Trace and Jameson whiskeys. I can kind of taste the hint of the sweetness from the whiskey. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it tastes okay to me. Probably more so than it did pre-cancer. You know what I mean? I didn't really drink a lot of that stuff, prior to cancer. But just enjoying. Obviously, coffee. I don't put like sugar or sweetener or creamer or anything. I drink my coffee black. I switched to coffee black though a while back and kind of just went with it. But certainly now that I've had an opportunity to taste a lot of different coffees when I was standing up the coffee company, I've tasted coffee from all over the world, and I enjoy it black. And I think with the black coffee you get to kind of taste the subtle differences between the different origins, like whether it's Colombia or Mexico or Peru or something like that. You can kind of taste the difference, and there are major differences in the taste of the coffee. And then also when you get into whether it's a light roast, medium roast, dark roast, you know what I mean, how the beans were roasted, that changes the flavor profile as well. So I enjoy that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? I don't think I get like super like geeked out on it. A lot of people buy the green beans and roast it for themselves at the house and stuff like that. It's a little bit more time consuming for that, and I'm trying to be a little bit optimistic and responsible with my time. But at the same time, every bag of coffee that I sell in the store, I personally tasted myself and designed a label and brand around what I tasted and how I feel about that particular coffee. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And how I thought it would identify with a particular, market or niche or something like that, like Nurse's Nectar. You know what I mean? Or 1893 Reserve's good. Lima Charlie is dedicated to ITs, and radio operators. That's, that was 20 years of my career. So stuff like that, you know what I mean? And I got like at least, I don't know, probably 20 other varieties and stuff that I'm looking at releasing. I'm looking at releasing like a house blend. Obviously, you got fall coming up. There could be a pumpkin spice.
I gotta have a pumpkin spice.
Yeah, pumpkin spice, holiday blends. There's opportunity to release some other stuff. So I've been looking and contemplating ideas for those things.
So you go, being an IT definitely makes sense, right? You get into the IT world, cybersecurity, everything like that. It is a huge market out there. I think anyone IT or CT type is doing really well for themselves, transitioning out of the Navy and getting into that stuff, right? Especially not just if you were, a E5 IT getting out of the Navy, right? But if you're E5 or any rank getting out as IT with the degrees to back up your experiences and everything like right. I think that's definitely one of those areas where some degree work really, I don't know, backs up, like really makes your whole resume strong, right? I'm not a degree person. I don't know. I would just think that's how it works, right? What takes you from starting up Maximum Effort cybersecurity and then going into coffee? Is it just like, oh yeah, you've always drank coffee just because you're in the Navy and you stood watch and everything like that, or was there anything other outside influence into the coffee business?
Sure. And to your point, yes, I do believe that, I had an advantage because I did have my degrees, and I highly encourage active duty, your listeners, audience, to, pursue those advanced degrees. Not to say you have to do it while you're on active duty, but it certainly helps. I had my bachelor's before I joined the Navy, which is kind of odd. People always ask me why I go enlisted, not officer, but that's a longer story. We can get into that some other time. But the master's I got on active duty, so I have a master's in cybersecurity and various certifications. Certainly more people are probably certified than me, but when you couple all that with 20 years of experience and stuff, then it does kind of give you a leg in there. To the how I segue from cybersecurity. So, obviously I was my own self-employed cybersecurity, running the company. I've been doing that for a year, and then started earlier this year. I was just kind of frustrated with my own coffee situation, like buying coffee for the house. And what do I drink? And, what do I want to drink? And I've been drinking, a particular brand for a long time. I've tried other brands and stuff like that. And so I really kind of was like, well, hey, what would it take if I was like, wanting to like do my own, you know what I mean? Like, and so I kind of just started doing the research, and then, I think I researched like coffee from like 3 different like vendors and stuff like that, and their processes for distribution and stuff like that. Cause California's kind of a little bit strict on the business side, you know what I mean? And it can be a little bit cumbersome to launch a business in California.
Yeah.
So I had to be smart about how I was going to do this. Not like you can just, fire up a roaster in your garage and start roasting coffee.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I wanted to be kind of practical about it and keep my inventory low and stuff like that. So found these opportunities, tried these different coffees, and kind of settled on this particular distributor that would help me out and stuff like that. And it worked out okay. But I was just trying coffee and frustrated. I'm like, hey, I don't want to, because you think about it, right? Like different company, there's always like social philanthropy and stuff like that. Some coffee companies are aligned with particular causes or whatever, and they're trying to get you to buy their coffee, but you also support this particular cause. Mm-hmm. Some causes can be very alienating, I could say, you know what I mean, or very polarizing, and I don't really want to be that way, you know what I mean? My coffee is for everybody, but I think that everybody can agree that cancer sucks, right? Fuck cancer, you know what I mean? Cancer touches everybody, right? Yeah. It doesn't give a fuck about how old you are. It doesn't care about race, creed, origin, you know what I mean? Yeah. It does not give 2 fucks, right? Yeah. It will steamroll you, and it'll steamroll the people that are around you, you know what I mean? Because whether you're struggling, you need support, right? And the thing I'm thinking about is like, okay, well, through the Navy, we support each other. You know what I mean? We're part of a crew. We support each other. People are having a shitty day. We support each other, right? Nobody goes through a 20-year career in the Navy, or even a 4-year career for that matter, without support, right? You make friends, sometimes lifelong friends. I mean, here we're sitting, right? Yeah. And that was like early 2000s. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I think that's a testament to what I'm trying to do with the coffee company, which is to create like basically a mission support group, right? Like it's saying, hey, right, you know me, you know what I believe in, right? You know what I went through. Other people are going through that too. Let's fucking help them out, right? And so trying to have that rallying call to get people to support the mission so that every cup is for the cure. And so I was like, not only was I was just looking like solve my own coffee situation, like I want to drink some fucking really good coffee. You know what I mean? So, but then I'm like, well, what if I can share this coffee with other people, right? And then on top of that, what's going to make people want to buy my coffee over somebody else's coffee? Yeah. Like, it's got to be unique, right? So from like a brand standpoint or marketing standpoint, I'm also thinking like, what's the tie-in? You know what I mean? What's the buy-in for you to buy my coffee over somebody else's coffee, right? But I think a unifying or rallying call is fuck cancer. You know what I mean? That's important to me. It's important to other people. So, hey, let's do it. You know what I mean? Let's stick it to cancer, if we can. And so that's really how it kind of came about. Like, originally it was just looking for me to replace my own coffee situation at the house and kind of like upscale my coffee. Like, I really like coffee. It tastes good. I blame the Navy for that because I didn't drink coffee that much before I joined the Navy. I was a hotel manager before I joined the Navy, and I did drink coffee when those were long hours. That was 60-hour weeks at the hotel. But I drank. I know I drank coffee there. I don't think I drank the amount, and we drink some pretty shitty coffee.
That Maxwell House on the Mestex. Golly, it is not good.
Correct.
So you get into the coffee thing, and I want to come back. I'm going to ask you a different question about the cancer stuff, but it kind of goes together. Not really, but how like you get into you're creating it now, right? You're creating the business, and you get into the taste testing of it all, right? Like how much or how deep, like you're not roasting it in your own garage or something, but like how deep did you still want to go with that? You know what I mean? And like just tell us about coffee a little bit, I guess is what I'm asking. Because again, for like myself, I've never been a huge coffee person. I've started drinking it more over the years. Really just, I'm like a small cup a day in the morning kind of person. And then later on, maybe at night, I'm getting that older age where, a little cafe at night, after dinner or something every now and then. Usually afternoon time, I'm more into an energy drink. I'm not one of those sailors that wakes up and at quarters, I'm, halfway through my second Monster, right? I like to, especially with circadian rhythm nowadays, it was really nice that I could wake up still at 6 because, like, that's how old I am, right? It's just Reveille's at 6, right? There's no other, this damn fly's fucking bugging me. And so wake up, and I'd go into the mess, and I'd have just, like, one small cup of coffee, right? And then my boy would be in there, and we'd watch, we'd put on a movie, sit there with like a little bagel, right? And just have my one cup of coffee just to get the day going, kind of get the, the body moving a little bit. And then that's it. So like for you, like when you're getting into the coffee, like how interesting, or like when you start learning about, like, because you're talking about the house blends and this blend and that blend, like to just take us through some of that of like, what's your number one favorite coffee? What's your like bean from origin, country, stuff like that. Cause it's interesting to me. And my other question that I was going to ask, and we come back to it, right, is like when you found out you had cancer and you're like, oh, it's throat cancer. You were kind of talking about like, oh, there, you have your palate and your tongue, and how much did you or did you not dive into like how your tongue and throat work so you could learn about it? Because that's how I am, right? Like when I find this one thing out, I like to go down the rabbit hole of it and learn all about that hobby or that thing, right? Is that kind of, do you have any of that in you, or were you just kind of like, fuck, I have cancer, it's in the throat, fuck? Or did you like want to learn about it more to be like, okay, how is this going to affect me? How's it going to affect my palate? What is my palate? I've always heard of it, but now, you know what I mean? Like take us through the coffee first, and then we'll come back to your mouth.
Sure. So, I mean, I think that anybody that's worked with me, if you saw me without a coffee cup, that it was probably irregular, I would say.
Yeah.
At least I know on the Mercy, I pretty much drank coffee up until like, if we're on deployment, I drank coffee probably at like 9 p.m.
Damn.
You know what I mean? I had coffee. Always stopped in, whether it was in the Mariners mess or our mess, or I brewed coffee in my office. Sometimes the guys down in ADP had coffee down there too. So, I mean, I'd stop in and get some just wherever I was at. But I think, anybody that knows me probably, I think better when I have coffee in my hand. You know what I mean? It's kind of like a security blanket. You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah.
So I do my best work when I'm drinking coffee. It gets... Whether it's actually really has an effect on my brain, it probably has somewhat, but you know what I mean? I think at this point it's just a security blanket for me, and I like it, you know what I mean? Probably my gut doesn't, but you know what I mean? I'm like, at this point, I'm just like, oh well, I enjoy it. And I think when I started looking at the researching, right, I had to research what would it actually... how cost prohibitive, or like how much money am I going to have to sink into the company to actually get it up and running, right? Mm-hmm. Because if it's cost prohibitive, then that's not really helping anybody. You know what I mean? I'm trying to get the coffee to market so that we can start doing something for good, right? Like get those donations going to the American Cancer Society. And with all the, real estate, having a location to roast coffee, that's expensive, you know what I mean? Not to mention that takes away from my other job, which is running the cybersecurity company. So try to do something that minimizes, allows me to do both, right, really, but still provide good coffee. So I had to eliminate the roasting, but I started doing the research. What does it take to get the green beans, the roasting process, you know what I mean? the difference, the length of roasting, how long it takes to roast, all that kinds of stuff, the different types of beans out there. Where would I get the beans from? And the cool thing is that my roaster already has done all that legwork for me, and I don't have to really worry about that portion of it. Certainly, there's hobby roasters that they order the green beans. They have, you can get pretty economical, small roasters, small batch roasters, and roast in your house, and it's no big deal. You want to scale up, though, a lot of the roasters require ventilation and stuff like that, and it can get very cumbersome, and then you have the waste product and stuff like that. So that can cause problems, right? And like I said, I can't be doing that in my garage. One, I like a clean garage. So
unlike mine.
Yeah, I didn't look that intensely, but I have OCD when it comes to my garage. So I like the cars, I like my cabinets, and I don't like much of anything else. So having a lot of crap in my garage would just, it wasn't going to work. And paying for real estate or a suite or something like that, a commercial suite, to be able to do it here in California, in Southern California, that's a no-go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not to say that something couldn't like that happen if things are going good, but it's going to take, with the margins, it would take a significant amount of sales in order to be able to, before I would even consider something like that. You know what I mean? So there's just not a lot. If you roast, there's more margins. If you roast it yourself, there's more margins. But again, I didn't want to be roasting coffee, bagging coffee, shipping coffee. You know what I mean? It's just very time consuming. So I have to look at those monetary costs too with my own time.
Yeah.
Right. Or if I have to get assistance, like rope my daughter and my wife into bagging coffee. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Try to get some free labor or something like that, but it just wasn't practical. So that's when I started researching the opportunities out there for people that already had those pipelines built with different farms from around the world and stuff like that, and could roast it and provide what I wanted to provide. And what I'm really doing is, so like you say, maybe you just drink 1 cup of coffee a day, maybe drink 2, you know what I mean? A lot of people don't drink as much coffee as I do, you know what I mean? I can go through a 5-pound bag without blinking, right? But a lot of other people, a 12-ounce bag can last them for a while. I know I can see with my repeat customers when they're coming back and getting more coffee, you know what I mean? How often they're replenishing their coffee, but I would consider I'm probably like not your average coffee drinker, you know what I mean? I drink a lot, but for most people, a 12-ounce bag could last a while. And what I'm really targeting is people that like to brew coffee at home, right? But are probably buying stuff you can get at Vons, or, if you're on the East Coast, Publix, or if you're in the Midwest, Kroger, something like that, you know what I mean? You're going to grab Pete's, or you're going to grab like a bag of Starbucks, maybe Dunkin' Donuts, something like that, Maxwell House, Folgers, you know what I mean? You're going to grab that. But what a lot of people don't know, or K-Cups for that matter, a lot of people, Keurig's been big over the last, probably the last 5 years, maybe even a little bit longer, but that's popular. It's convenience, you know what I mean? Not a lot of waste. But the thing is with, and I'll speak just to the K-Cups, there is waste with those plastic. Now, some particular brands, I think it's like Old San Francisco or something like that, has like a disposable K-Cup, you know what I mean? But primarily those plastic cups end up in the waste and dump fills, maybe in the ocean, you know what I mean? Whereas if you're brewing your coffee, you got the coffee grounds. You can actually recycle those coffee grounds. You can put them in the garden. You know what I mean? It's good stuff like that. It helps. My wife puts the coffee grounds in her plants and stuff like that all the time. But it's minimal waste. You know what I mean? I actually, the roaster's working on more disposable type bags. You know what I mean? So trying to be eco-friendly when it comes to the environment. So I'm thrilled about that. But so if you brewing coffee at home, minimal waste, you know what I mean? Doesn't take a lot of time. But more importantly, like, what's the quality of the coffee? You know what I mean? A lot of that coffee that you buy from the grocery store has been sitting there. K-Cups could be, that coffee can be in that K-Cup for over 3 months.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Same thing. When did the distributor send that bag to Vons or Publix or whatever? You know what I mean? How long has it been sitting on that shelf? Right? we don't roast your coffee until you order it. You know what I mean? So within that 2 to 3 day window is when my roaster is roasting your coffee, putting it in the bag, and then drop it in the post office, right? And then within 5, I've seen it most 8 days, you're getting a bag of coffee. Now, if you look at the coffee bag, there's like a little valve right there. So when you put coffee into the bags, it goes through like a degassing period, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like it's settling, you know? And during the time in transit that it's actually getting to you, it's a perfect time frame, right? So by the time it gets you, and just like you said when you did your opening box, right?
Yeah.
Just open it. The bag's not even open yet.
Yeah, I could smell it when I went down to the post off the damn box, right? And I opened it up. It smelled like coffee, and it was still packaged, still taped, everything, right? And I was like, ooh, and I was meaning to go check the mail, but like you text me, and I was like, oh, like it must be here. Otherwise, why would he be texting me, right? So I went down there, and as soon as I opened the box, it just, and even the kids were like, oh, Dad, you know, is that coffee? I was like, yeah, it's coffee. So, I mean, and it smelled really, and again, I'm not like a huge coffee nerd at all, but it smelled, and I had like 4 different bags, but it all smells like coffee. But I was like, man, like this shit smells good. Like, to me, when I smell that, I think freshness. Right? I'm like, damn, like that smells good, you know? And yeah, I mean, I'm drinking the Morning Saga, and still cutting it with sugar. I'm sorry, Jace, but like I'm just with sugar, right? And it's been pretty damn good. It's been pretty damn good.
Yeah, I try to challenge everybody at least for maybe 2 to 3 days. Just drink it, like test yourself. Drink it black for 3 days, right? And then if it's still like you can't handle it, you know what I mean? Then go back to cutting it, you know what I mean? But at least try it black for 3 days and see if it makes a shift in your mindset. Be like, when you go back and you put that cream or sugar in there, you're like, oh man, I actually prefer it black. You know what I mean? But you got to kind of like stick with it a couple days. Even when I switched, because I used to put, sweetener and, vanilla creamer or something like that. Maybe hazelnut, Irish cream. I used to put stuff in my coffee too. I'm not saying I didn't. You know what I mean? But I had to kind of challenge myself to drink it black. But after I did, I was thankful for it because, one, I'm not taking on those additional calories that I would be putting into my coffee. Not that it's a lot, but you can go from, like, coffee's like essentially 0 calories, black.
Yeah. But
you can go from that to like 400 to 500 calories really quickly, especially with a lot of the sugary drinks that you can get at some of the, outside vendors and stores and drive-thrus. You know what I mean? You can get, I don't even know if I call that coffee. You know what I mean?
It's just, sugar. Yeah, it's a little coffee with a lot of cream and everything else. What's your favorite blend that you're selling right now?
Oh, that's tough, man, because I like them all. But I think right now, so for espresso, I like Team 6. It's a 6-bean blend. It's really popular right now. A lot of people enjoy that one. It's a very dark roast, very flavorful. But yeah, for espresso, it's really good. If you want something strong, tasting, bold, Team 6 is really good. I think right now, I've been doing my daily drinker right now is this house blend that I haven't released yet, and I've been tasting that. It's from a secondary roaster that I'm working with, so I have two roasters, but I've only released coffee from the first roaster. So, but both my wife and myself have really enjoyed that particular blend. It kind of reminds me of Morning Saga, which is like a breakfast blend style coffee. It's very smooth and medium. Yeah. Interesting story about Morning Saga. If you look at that label and or read the description, that's really like a shot at, well, I'm not going to mention because I don't want to get sued. I don't want you sued. But let's just say a popular vampire franchise. You know what I mean? But I'm more of an 80s vampire franchise. I'm more of like a Lost Boys type, vampire person. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I really can't stand sparkly vampires. So that's actually like a shot at it. You know what I mean? Like, again, I think people that know me, I can be slightly sarcastic, maybe overly sarcastic, depending on how you're interacting with me. But yeah, some of my bags will have that kind of a little jab or sarcastic, play on things. Certainly the descriptions will, you know what I mean?
Where'd you get do you do the artwork for your bags, or you hire that out and have kind of come up with the concept and then just hire it out and do a couple revisions and stuff like that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not that talented to be able to draw something like that. But I can say that all the artwork is my own original idea. Like my concepts for the bags and the labels are mine. And I just found a really good guy that is able to implement that for me. He basically just implementing the vision, right?
Yeah.
So I give him a loose idea. He comes back with a sketch. Maybe we tweak it a little bit. Maybe take this out, put this in. What about this? Kind of deal. Go back a little bit forth, and then then he convert it to digital and colorize it, and and if we're good to go, I give him the thumbs up. Go to print, or maybe we got to go back to the drawing board, stuff like that. So, but yeah, that guy kind of got what I was trying to do, so he delivered on that. So I kind of stuck with him.
And you just send that off to your distributor, and then they just print it on the bags and everything. That's how that works after you get the digital.
Yeah, so I have to make sure all our labels have to be like FDA compliant, stuff like that. Certain requirements to be on the labels, so I have to vet that with the roaster. But I think now it was a little tough at the beginning because trying to navigate that, I got kicked back a few times. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But once we kind of got the terminology and right metrics on there and stuff like that, then really we're just changing the design for each label so we can keep that. And like I said, I can scale up. Right now I'm just offering 12-ounce bags, but I can go all the way to 5-pound bags for whatever, for a coffee. So if you're out there, you're listening, and you get some maximum effort coffee, and you're like, hey, Jace, I'd like to get a 5-pound bag of this, then let me know. You know what I mean?
Because I'm all about support, brother. Is that like they would just email you on the side for that?
For right now, I don't have it in the store because
right.
I haven't seen the demand signal to warrant. But certain bags or certain blends are starting to trend. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can see those ones as time goes on. Let's say maybe after 6 months, I'll have a very good set of metrics as far as what's my high performing, blend. And maybe I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and increase some sizes. I'll go ahead and add like a full pound, and I'll add 2 pounds. See how that goes. But certainly, I have the capability to scale up all the way to 5 pounds. I already have the labels for anything that's in the store right now. I already have the labels generated and ready to go for up to 5 pounds. But just really waiting to see that demand signal to really offer that. But yeah, the capability is there. The roaster has the capability to fill something like that and send that out. Plus, I have, I have subscription capabilities. So, like, if you want to subscribe and order, don't even think about it. Like, subscribe. There is discount included in that. If you subscribe, you do save on the cost of the coffee. But I do have that capability on the website to be able to subscribe. Weekly, bi-weekly, once a month. You can kind of take the science out of it if you're that want to automate your coffee delivery. But really tried to introduce fair traded, organic, specialty grade coffee to the masses, right? While offering a potential solution, or at least a help fight cancer. And that's really the crutch of it. Because I drinking Folgers or any of that bad coffee they buy on the shelf at like Vaughn's or Publix or something like that, man, it just at this point it doesn't taste good to me. You know what I mean? And once you really taste like a fresh roasted coffee, like it's night and day, man. And everybody that's drank my coffee says the same thing. Like, this is different. I had people over the house, and the mafia was over at my house. I'm making them coffee, you know. Hey, try the coffee, right? And they're like, man, this is delicious. This is better than anything else I tried. You know what I mean? Because it's fresh and it's high grade, right?
Yeah.
And the stuff that you get in the store isn't going to be that. You know what I mean? And it's probably been sitting there for a minute.
You got plans on putting out, I'm sure you do, you have to, right? Like, or can you already do cold brew with what you have? Or I thought that was like a special ground or something that you got to do, like a thicker, bigger grind for cold brew, or is that something you're working on, just waiting on enough demand signal or kind of to get this one going first before you start branching off somewhere else?
So I do have a particular blend that is designed to be used for cold brew. Again, I'm still of the kind of the mindset that I want you to either use whole bean or grounds. Now, I can offer coffee in different grinds. So you have like fine, which is great for espresso, coarse, and then kind of standard. You know what I mean? So depending on what you're trying to do, you know, whether you're using a pour over, you're using a machine, using maybe your coffee maker, like my coffee maker has a ceramic burr grinder, so it just grinds up the coffee and then goes straight into the cup. You know what I mean? I like that. It's a little extra freshness, you know, I think, than just using a standard drip, but certainly both variants, they're both fresh, right? But I don't know. I think I'm right now. I'm trying to stay away from like the canned coffee, you know, stuff like that. Like, I'm really focused on increasing awareness about people brewing good coffee at their house. You know what I mean? If you're a coffee drinker in the morning or evening, we got decaf. So like, you know, if you want to have if you like the taste of coffee and you want to have a cup of coffee in the evening, right? Then I have decaf, and it's from Peru. It's fucking good. You know what I mean? It tastes really good, and you don't get those after effects. I have some friends that they get all blotchy and shit if they drink coffee with caffeine in it, or you might have somebody that has, you know, a weak heart or gets heart palpitations from the caffeine. So I offer decaf, and they've tried my decaf, and they're like, yo, this shit's fucking good. You know what I mean? So I think for those people that maybe can't, you know, handle a caffeinated coffee, that decaf is an option. And like I said, we have that. It's got a funny description. I won't go into details, but it's pretty funny. So again, like I said, sarcasm. I always say sarcasm's kind of like our second language, and coffee is our first, right? I got that somewhere in the website or somewhere it's there. But yeah, I look at, you know, offering other coffee flavors, other stuff there. Obviously, merch and swag, it's coming. And that's probably the hardest part. You know what I mean? How much stuff I'm going to stock at my house, or can I get it to be able to be shipped out? You know, where's it going to be stocked? The other thing is, I'm very particular about what I'm going to put my brand on, right? If I'm going to put my company logo on something, then I want it to look good, right? And it's like, I don't want to give that to somebody. I've gone through a lot of trial and error with coasters. I got some really shitty coasters in, and I was pissed. You know what I mean? Luckily, I got my money back, but I've kind of now got some good ones. And some people have ordered them or have handed them out. You know what I mean? That they look good now. I got some tumblers. I got 16-ounce tumblers in there. My daughter uses those quite regularly. I make her iced caramel macchiatos. The recipe for that is on my blog. So I'm looking at education and stuff like that. What else could do? A lot of my recipes are going to probably have alcohol in them. I got a mudslide one, espresso martini. I was making those for the Mafia the other day. They're really good. You can't really taste alcohol, and it's sharp, especially with Team 6. So there's always going to be a tie-in with, like, how can you use coffee in other ways around your house, or, you know, other drinks you can concoct with my coffee. But we have tumblers. We got mugs. You know, I got some funny mugs in there. I got nurse's mug. I got a, you know, kind of just a shut the fuck up. You know, this big, how about a nice big cup of shut the fuck up type mug, you know. I got like one that's like a Game of Thrones. Yeah, I think I saw you had you had some Game of Thrones stuff. So that was one of my favorite shows. I got the Game of Thrones in there. Trying to think
How much? Because I was talking to the wife about it when I was showing her. How much are you a actual fan of Deadpool? Because I mean, like I think everyone understands Maximum Effort is also a Deadpool thing. He had cancer. That's what he went for, this cancer treatment and his X gene and everything like that. I'm sure you're familiar with the movie. How much of a fan are you of Deadpool? And then does that like translate to a lot of your just imagery and everything like that? Especially, I mean, again, with the sarcasm and everything, right? Like at some point, are we going to see you cosplaying as Deadpool?
Well, I try not to cross-pollinate everything, but there are subtle, undertones to everything I do. I'm a geek. I like 80s stuff. I like Star Wars. I like Star Trek for that matter. I'm not biased in that regards. Probably lean on the Star Wars side. I like Marvel, DC. Like comic books. That kind of stuff. I like those shows. But yeah, probably number one character that I can like identify with is Deadpool. He's very sarcastic with his jokes. He is living with cancer. It's mitigated with his powers, but at the same time, it's I'm sarcastic. I've had cancer, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I like his colors, the kind of like red, black, kind of grayish colors. So all my colors, both for both my cybersecurity company and for the coffee company are kind of Deadpoolish, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They're those colors. But I also don't want to get sued by Marvel or anybody else, you know what I mean? So I try to eliminate that, the kind of, the bullet holes in the coffee cup are kind of like Thorbo. He's obviously an assassin, you know what I mean? Former Canadian special ops. I don't have anything against Canada, but Canada. But I suspect there probably will be some bag of coffee that will make a jab here or there, you know what I mean, against our northern neighbor, you know what I mean? It is. I did look at, though, honestly, in fairness, I did look at like what it would cost to open up, sales channel to Canada and ship outside U.S. Unfortunately, man, it's just really expensive to ship. Yeah. It almost outweighs the cost of shipping the coffee to Canada. And I know that some of my friends have family in Canada that probably would love to share that coffee with. And, I would just probably say, hey, go ahead and throw it in a box and ship it yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It would be way more cost effective than me doing it. But so I looked, but I do ship to like I know that we have I have a lot of friends that are overseas, still active duty military and stuff. Rhoda, Naples, Japan, Guam, Okinawa. You know what I mean? They're out there. But we do ship FPO AP. That counts. It's free shipping. You know what I mean? That's a cool thing. Like fresh roasted, free shipping. You know what I mean? You're probably going to get it in 8 days, maybe a little bit longer for FPO AP, because, it is. It's the
logistics of it.
It's the logistics
Familiar
of it.
with it.
Those things, it takes a while. But, huge Deadpool fan. I mean, he actually says, I think it was in the first movie, he was sitting on the bridge, and right before he jumped in the car, he said, maximum effort. You know what I mean? That is just a catchphrase.
Yeah.
And he kind of really the other thing that the way I look at it is, if you kind of look about how he goes about things, he's kind of lackadaisical with things. You know what I mean? He's just kind of like, he falls into shit, or it's very, he's got like kind of like a little bit of good luck in some regards, you know what I mean? But when if he's going to put his energy into something, you know what I mean, then he's really good at it, right?
Yeah.
And that's where the maximum effort comes from, is like, because he really cares about it. In that particular case, it was Vanessa, right? He's trying to save Vanessa. So he's going to do anything and everything he can. And so when I look at like what I do with either cybersecurity or my personal life, the coffee company, you know what I mean? Like, I really care about what I'm doing. So I'm going to put my maximum effort to it. I'm not going to be lackadaisical about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you hire me as a cybersecurity professional, you're going to get maximum effort. You know what I mean? If you drink my coffee, then when you drink it, you're going to be like, okay, yeah, Jace wasn't fucking around. This is good coffee.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And certainly if there was somebody to, counteract that narrative, then please, by all means, reach out to me. I'd love to hear your story. You know what I mean? But, I haven't had any bad reviews for the coffee. And I think if you are, like I said, if you're just drinking, I had a lot of people reach out to me and like, hey, I drink Folgers. What do you recommend? Well, if you drink Folgers, pretty much anything that you buy from my store is going to be better than Folgers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if you are, of a particular roast, type of roast you like, whether it's light, some people like the light roast. I don't really go too light. I have medium light, you know what I mean? But honestly, predominantly, most people are medium coffee drinkers. So if you look at my offerings, the vast majority of them are going to be medium, right? And that's just a smooth blend. Yeah. And then, of course, I have some dark roast like Team 6, my Old Faithful. So, like Yellowstone, not only the show, but the park, right, is one of, like, my favorite national park of all time. Really like National. So that kind of influenced my Old Faithful bag. So if you look at that, it's got like kind of like coffee coming out of a geyser.
Yeah.
But that influenced that particular label. But it's also like a cowboy blend. It's very, something you would find in just a steel cup out on the range kind of deal. It's I wouldn't say it's like, nothing to brag about, but it's a bold cup of coffee that you feel like it was brewed, You're gonna
give that cowboy. Oh, yeah.
It's got a little kick to it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's pretty strong. But people that like those medium dark flavors, it certainly does the job. But yeah, there's pretty much anywhere you want: Honduras, Guatemala, Nicaragua, Brazil. I haven't really seen a lot of people buy the Brazilian one. That actually tastes pretty
Which one's
good.
the Brazilian one?
It's Rio Redeemer.
Okay.
Yeah. It's pretty tasty too. I drank that one for a while. I do like Peru. That's Lima Charlie. Tijuana Temptation. Obviously my house is a little bit closer than yours, but we're literally
Stone's throw away. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was only like 2 miles here, so it's like 10 miles from the border.
Yeah.
That we share with our neighbor Mexico. So that kind of influenced that one. Back in early 2000s, we were pretty much down in Tijuana every weekend. You know what I mean? Like at least when I was first here. So that was the place to go. If we're down on Fifth Avenue, we were going to Tijuana. So, but yeah, that was influenced there. A lot of the other ones are kind of like scenery, picturesque places based off of where that coffee origin is. Like Mount Kilimanjaro in Tanzania and stuff like that. Kilimanjaro Kick, iconic places. Lima Charlie's got like Machu Picchu, there.
Mm-hmm.
Funny story, right? I don't know. You didn't really stand Bridge Watch too much, right? But like when we're on the bridge and we're monitoring communications and we go now past. We're in the Gulf or whatever. Like, basically, I would say probably west of India, maybe even more so. But there's this on Bridge to Bridge channel 16, right? There's what they call a Filipino monkey, right? You probably heard of it, right? But it's like these dudes just talk on the radio and chatter, but they talk about like a monkey and bananas and stuff like that, and they call it Filipino monkey. Probably multiple people, right? But for ages, that if you're a mariner or sailor and you stand, watch, and monitor Bridge Channel 16 out in those areas, then you hear that, And so I kind of took, being obviously a radio operator or IT, I kind of took that and kind of bridged that concept of, one, it's from Peru, so Lima Charlie, right? So Lima being the capital of Peru, Lima Charlie being loud and clear for radio communications, and radio operators. But then I had, if you look at the design of the label, it's like a Navy radio operator, but he's listening to his headphones, and there's communication coming from a llama, which, llamas are popular in Peru, right? But it's kind of like a throwback to that concept of the Filipino monkey. So in this case, it's not a monkey, it's a llama. But,
it's a lot of deep thought into that one artwork there from a lot of different places, which I like.
Yeah.
I think I like when there's like a lot of hidden messages that maybe even only yourself, but that they're there, and, people listening to this now can go look for that. Don't forget to order yourself a bag of it, right? And but that's super dope. Do you have any plans? I mean, coffee is made all over the world. Do you have any future plans, like favorite port visits, trying to find coffee from there and making a coffee about that, your favorite port visit or something like that? And kind of, because again, I think it's just super cool that it's not hardcore Navy, right? You're not just another retired senior chief that opened up a woodworking shop that's doing, and nothing wrong with you guys. Don't get your butt hurt, okay? But like, you're not just making coin holders and flags and anchors, right? Like you've started your first business, right? And now like that's your, I would say, that was your specialty, right? That's your expertise. Yeah. And now this one being your fun one that you can have fun with, but incorporating a lot of these, like, of course, the 1893 blend, like a chief is going to have that, but like just all this other fun thing. So do you have like a maybe one lined up? I mean, maybe you don't want to talk about it or tell it, but like, have you put thought into that? Like, what's one of your favorite port visits? Maybe it's Singapore, Thailand, maybe it's somewhere in Japan, and trying to find a bean from there. And being that you do these, the artwork's really cool, right? And now that you're telling me stories behind it, I think it's even better. And thinking about that sea story that matches up with it and making that blend.
I didn't really think it that way, but I have thought about, obviously taking vacations to some of these places, and visit them firsthand. Like, I haven't been to Peru, but I'd like to go there. You know what I mean? There are definitely stories in some of these places where they're offering coffee beans. I am slightly limited by what the partnerships that the roaster has with the particular farms, where they're sourcing them from. Obviously, some countries are more practical for growing coffee than others, so they might not have a particular segue with that. Certain countries are just known for coffee. Colombia, right?
Yeah.
That's an example, but certainly there's other cases. Hawaii has a special place in my heart. 7 years there, stationed there. So I would like to be able to offer a Kona coffee at some point. But it's difficult. They kind of, the people that are there, the companies that are already there on the island, kind of have that market cornered.
Yeah.
But not to say that something couldn't happen in the future. With that, I think the other one, not that I had been there, but I would like to possibly get something is Jamaica would be another one that I was looking at. But predominantly, I think Hawaii. And I definitely have some other concepts that I worked on, but I didn't release them because those coffee types weren't necessarily a high demand. So I kind of focused on what the distributor was telling me was, predominantly high sellers or, in high demand, and try to target that first before I branch out to other things. But like I said, I already have plans to introduce some fall type stuff. It might be just for fourth quarter, where I just put it out there. It's a limited time, and then I bring it back, and then every year around the same time I'll probably release that. I mean, if you look at Starbucks, they only released a pumpkin spice, during the particular time frame, and then it disappears, right?
Have you ever thought? So I'm big on collecting, right? Marvel the Collector. Okay, I like. If you notice, I had a bunch of pop toys. I like to collect alcohol, right? I like to collect hobbies and learn just enough of it to say that I know how to do it. Maybe I'm not the best at it, but like I know how to bowl. Again, theoretically, I know like every movement and everything. I know why they do it, why they swing their leg, because they want to clear the hip, because the ball has to stay straight. Just dumb nerd shit like that, right? Have you thought about? And so like I wear these shorts, right? Small company. It's called Tack Hunt Fish, Tactical Hunt and Fishing, right? And they're a cool small company, right? And they do all limited release, right? Every short that they drop, it's only like maybe once a month, once every 6 weeks or so, and they put out the print, and then that's the print. That's how many they do. That's it. Have you thought about going that way also at all? With like maybe, the pumpkin spice one, if you do it. I'm not saying you are. Limited edition, like print of labels and anything like that, just to drive that kind of stuff. Have you, because like before we started recording, we're talking about that, how much you're learning about the marketing and the social media and everything like that. Have you thought about that stuff or learned about any of that yet on the like the business side of it, to try to drive those sales, to drive the the exclusivity of it? I mean, not that you want to be too exclusive, but people like exclusive shit. I love exclusive shit, right? If you tell me I could get even if it's just a coffee bag, yeah, I might just get that coffee bag just to say I have it. Maybe I keep the bag after it's empty. And you know what I mean? Like, so have you gone down any of that road, or are those just kind of clouds in the sky for you right now that you're thinking about?
Well, so that's a good point. So I'd say a lot of my free time is reading, right?
Yeah.
I'm reading about digital marketing, read about social media, right? What energizes sales, stuff like that. And I mean, those are definitely good ideas. I mean, if I swap out the label every year, then it is limited edition.
Yeah.
And so I have looked at that. I have looked at whether or not things would be a staple offering, or if it would just be like a pop-up. Hey, you can get it this month, and then you're not going to get it again kind of deal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or at least it would be a different label maybe next year or something.
Yeah,
Like it'd be something different concept. But I think when people see at least my house blend, I think when they see the label of that, and we talked about Deadpool and stuff like that, I think, they'll think, at least if they understand that concept, then they'll think it's really cool. Like,
Yeah.
I haven't done it yet, but I know what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that a lot of people will get the sarcasm and the jabs and kind of appreciate that. Not to mention it's just really good coffee. But I have looked at that. I've looked at partnerships, reading about affiliate marketing, stuff like that, like having people, talk about our product stuff similar like this, you know what I mean? Coming on your show, having you spread the word. I mean, obviously you're a testament, right? So your testimony, hey, I've had actually tasted the coffee.
Yeah.
I drink the coffee. I'm having the coffee on my show, whatever. I put a little whiskey in my coffee, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, it's good fucking coffee. You guys should go out and buy that coffee. You know what I mean? Support the cause. That kind of thing. I have a friend, a really good friend. I actually consider her more of a daughter than a friend, but she has a small candle company in Hawaii, local small business. But they have a really cool concept with taking and repurposing the like Hawaiian juice cans, like the aluminum cans, and making them into candles. She also got some really like cool concepts, like she just came up with ones like looks like the candle looks like Spam Musubi. It's in a reused Spam can, and obviously Spam is popular on the island,
Yeah.
right? So, but she reuses those for there, and I've kind of talked to her and worked through like possibly there. She did make she's made a couple of small batches of coffee infused soap, right? So she used Team 6, which is my dark roast blend. She added that into a soap, so it's kind of got like a manly coffee, espresso, just a really good smelling soap, you know what I mean? And it's all organic. So If you like custom soaps, local kind teens, she's on the internet and stuff like that. She's on social media, but check her out. She's got some really good things, especially if you're on the Rock. If you're in Hawaii, she does pop-ups all the time. But check her out. But I've looked at that, but looking like other affiliates, and maybe brands that align with what I'm trying to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm very particular about that. You know what I mean? Because, like I said, I don't want my coffee company to be polarizing by any means. You know what I mean? I want to stand for something, but I don't necessarily want to dip my toes in, a lot of areas that could alienate customers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just really want to introduce people to good coffee, right? And great coffee for that matter, but great coffee, and to try to do something. You know what I mean? Like really change things up. And I think that mantra. I mean, even as a chief, right? Even as a chief, growing up, you come up, you see how you want to be treated as a junior enlisted, right? How your chief treats you, or how your division officer treats you. You know what I mean? Like how people treat you in general, growing up, and that kind of like helps shape you into who you gonna be when you get to that point, right?
Yeah.
And how much are you gonna care, right? Are you gonna just check in? You gonna punch that time card, check in, and then punch that time card and check out? And it's like, hey, sailor texts you at 9:00 at night. Chief, I got a problem. You know what I mean? Are you going to answer the text, or are you just going to ignore it because you're not sure what you're going to get into if you respond back, right?
Yeah.
Like, I could probably wait till tomorrow morning, right? But you got a sailor sitting in an ER with his wife or something, and a kid's injured or what. You never know, right? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, like, I think that's like everything that I've worked up to this point, whether it's the cybersecurity company, the coffee company, my career, it's like, I give a fuck. You know what I mean? I care about the sailors. Even if they didn't work for me, I cared about them. I cared about I cared about you.
Nah, yeah, you did. Yeah, I mean, you guys, I've talked to, Kelvin on here. He's been on here a couple times now. And like, I don't think people understand how much the mess there, right? That was really my first warship, right? Before that, I was on a USNS. I had some chiefs. Awesome, the two awesome chiefs, right? LSCS or SKCS at that time, and OSC, awesome chiefs there. But going to my first real ship, right? The first class is on there. That's where I met. We're awesome, right? Not my first class, but for the most part, all the first classes were awesome. Chiefs were awesome. Watch you go through your season and watch you become a chief, right? And just thinking about, like, damn, I got good chiefs here that are leading me and showing me how things get done. And how to be successful. So, a lot of times I talk about that stuff, right? And it's just, maybe I'm just one of those fortunate sailors that, like, through all of my career, I've always had great chiefs. Some weren't as great as others, right? But I've always been on the plus side of chiefs, right? I've never had a chief that was just an absolute piece of shit, right? The worst chief was still a pretty good one. Okay, there's just some things where I felt like he did not do his maximum effort in that moment for me, right? But everywhere else, like, it was fine. So, I'm very fortunate in that, and it's like, I don't know, it's just I'm real grateful for you guys there that pushed me through that. Like I said, yeah, there's a lot of adversity, right? Like, everyone goes through it, no matter what ship you're out, no matter what time you served, right? And I'm grateful that we've been able to keep in touch, remain friends, and watch you go through your career, winding up, and just keeping in touch and everything. And watching you now, like, blossom into this. I say blossom like you're a fucking kid of mine or something, right? But, like, I look at it as, like, I'm looking, and this is, like, after, we keep in touch loosely, right? But, like, I knew you're doing your cybersecurity thing. I don't really have anything to talk to you about cybersecurity, right? I'm not smart. Right, I don't. You still you talked about it a little bit at the beginning, and I was just like, wow, that's a lot of stuff. I don't understand any of it. Okay, but like the coffee thing, it's more understandable. I think it's more understandable for a lot of sailors, for a lot of military, and for just a lot of people, because a lot of people in the state, in America, just wake up and grab a cup of coffee. So it's more, more personable, more likable, more just understanding. Like, yeah, I fucking want a good cup of coffee in the morning, right? But so then, as we're talking, and you showed me, gave me a sneak peek of it a couple months ago now, and I was like, yo, that's cool. And it's you are an entrepreneur. I don't think of myself as an entrepreneur, right? Some people would be like, but you have this podcast, this and that. But I'm not. To me, it's not a business. I'm not making money. I've made some money off of it when the publishing site that I use, when they had like free ad revenue and stuff in there. But like they've changed it up where it's a lot harder. It's less. And even at that, it's like $15 a fucking every per milli, right? Per million, or excuse me, per 1,000. That ain't shit.
Yeah.
Now when I'm sitting a sub 7,000 download still, right? So I'm not doing this out of anything other than I give a fuck about whatever the topic is that I'm talking about for the moment, right? Sure. So, I mean, that's why I appreciate, like, once I saw you doing this coffee thing, I was like, yo, I got to talk to him about that. One, because I take it as an opportunity for myself to learn from a real entrepreneur, right, who's now starting their second business. Two, it's one of those, like, you keep the company and then and you learn and you grow like them, right? Birds of a feather. Right. So I'm like, all right, well, I got more to talk to Jace about now because like I'm trying to do things that he's doing. Not saying start a coffee company, but like build the actual business, learn the same thing. Like, man, all I do is sit on YouTube learning about the marketing, the social media. I took a whole year to like launch the podcast because one, I've told this story before, like I was scared to. Right. Because I'm like, oh, who's going to listen to me? Is my voice okay? Like, bullshit like that. And then two is like, I didn't think it was good enough. Right. I was like, oh, no, I don't have enough equipment. I'm this, I'm that. And then once I got over that hump, finally, it was like, boom, I'm going. And now it's been 3 years doing it. Doesn't seem like 3 years. Would I like to have more? Sure. More downloads, all that. But it's like, I'm starting to see the impact that it's having on a couple people. Right. And that's where it like really starts to feel good when that one junior sailor out of nowhere is like, hey, yo, Chief, I listened to it. I appreciate what you said. Yeah. And that's just like, oh, wait, what? Like, hold on. Like I said something worth a fuck? Like, no way, right? Like you think you do that when you're out on the deck plates, when you're at work, right? And your sailors have to listen to you, right? But when it's just someone commenting on a YouTube video, right? Leave your comment down below, all right? Like then it's like, oh, shit, like, maybe there is some positive impact happening here and everything. So, we'll start wrapping up now. But Jace, like that's just to say, like, I appreciate you coming on and taking time out of your busy schedule, right? And sharing with me what you've been going through, sharing with the audience what you've been going through. I've learned a lot. It's a lot of work out here for us that are trying to do something other than just get that GS job and stay going to base and all that, right? So I'm very fortunate to have you as a friend still, since what, 2009-ish, right, when we were both on the Russell. I'm fortunate that I can learn from you and watch you build your companies and take that on for myself as a motivating factor that it is possible to retire and not go back to base to work, but to create your own thing and be successful at it. That's what's driving me, and that's why I wanted you to have you on as a guest to talk about that stuff. And that's why I love talking so much more about the coffee and everything than the Navy, because I have plenty of guests on. I'm still Navy. I want to be successful afterwards, and I need to know people, and I need to know that it's possible afterwards. And you are a possibility. Right. So like for all the listeners out there that are thinking, hey, that your chief is asking you, your divils are asking you, do you have a plan? Do you have this? Make your plan or figure your plan out while you get out. Right. But here we have, retired senior chief on camera, 2 businesses, entrepreneur, working from home, making it. Right. You don't have to be a retired senior chief. It might help. The degrees definitely help. Right. But it's all possible. You could do it. You've done it. Thank you so much for inspiring me to continue to do it, Jace. And I'll kick it over to you if you have any departing words. You want to make your final plugs. I'll make sure that everything is linked down below in descriptions. But if you got any words, go ahead. Camera's yours.
I'm just say thanks for having me on. Like a little intimidated at first, but you know what I mean. Like even on my own social media, for the company, I started to do a little bit more reels. Starting to get on camera a little bit more. But I want things to be personal. I wanted people to understand what I'm trying to do. So trying to get out of my comfort zone in that regards. Certainly, I'm not as dialed into the active duty community, what's going on. I kind of loosely follow things. Obviously, still have tons of friends that are active duty. My son is active duty, so I am paying close attention to what's going on. Maybe not as closely as an active duty chief, but I do follow things. But I'm not on the forums. I'm not out there on the boards, making comments. Back in my day, whatever, I'm not like that. I'm focused on what I'm doing and stuff like that. But you bring up a good point, and to the junior sailors and for the mess in general, you got to have a plan post career. If that plan is just living off, if you're blessed enough to retire, living off your retirement disability, that's great. You know what I mean? But if you're looking to do something else, what is that going to be? And are you planning for it? You know what I mean? And I think that's important because we serve, but then we continue to serve post career. You know what I mean? And that's what I feel like I'm trying to do right now. I'm trying to serve in my own way post career and still have that that semblance of camaraderie. You know what I mean? And I'm doing something that makes a difference. You know what I mean? And honestly, if you're serving, you're on active duty, you're doing that right now. Doesn't always seem that way, sweeping the P-ways, right? Or sweeping the rain. We've all been there. Yeah. It doesn't seem like it, and it can be tough, and right, like I said, but there is a finite purpose for it, and like I said, not everybody gets the opportunity to do it, and we need people that want to do it, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just appreciate you having me come on. I'd be happy to come on again. We can talk about whatever you want.
Yeah.
I'm well-versed on a lot of different subjects, not just coffee and Navy lore, but, we can talk about whatever, really. And I appreciate it. For all those listening, you want to get some coffee, great coffee, MaximumEffortCoffee.com. We're on social media, Max Effort Coffee, at Max Effort Coffee. So, I'm sure the links will be there, but check us out. Give us a taste. You won't be disappointed. I got 5-star reviews across the board. We sell on the web, Facebook, and Instagram. You can get the coffee in all 3 different locations. I'm exploring TikTok as much as I don't want to.
That's a tough one.
That's it, yeah. I really don't want to put no TikTok app on my phone, but, it is popular, so I'm looking at it as an alternative sales channel. I got time constraints for Pinterest, but eventually I'll be on Pinterest. And also, Google's kind of tough, man. They're really strict, but I should be able to offer stuff on Google eventually. I'm just working through the dynamics, but lots of different sales channels and avenues. But obviously, if you just go to the website, you can get it there. Free shipping, like I said, 10% discount through GovX for active duty military, veterans, first responders, nurses, teachers. And I can't forget the teachers, right? Because, they're taking care of little angels or demons, however you want to look at it, while we're out doing the job. You know what I mean? So I appreciate what they do just as much as I appreciate nurses and the other first responders. But, nobody goes through life alone. And it's important that these people that play a critical role in our health and well-being, you know what I mean, and protect us every day, that they are afforded some extra perks, right? And we will always offer that, you know what I mean, on a daily basis. And there's always other promotions. I think I got $3 off on certain bags right now, so there's opportunities to pick up some extra discounts. So, but I appreciate it.
Yep. All right. For me, I'll never use GovX for a friend. I always pay full price. I don't. It's a great benefit for you all out there, but for me, Jace, I always go with the full price. 1, because it's worth it. 2, because I don't want anything to be taken away from the American Cancer Society. I want to make sure that every dollar that can get spent over there is given to them also. As myself, my family has been affected by cancer several times, through grandparents and stuff. So I'm all for that. Hey, thanks for tuning in today to another episode. All right. We'll be back again next week sometime talking to someone else, or you'll just get to see this pretty face. For more information on how you can support the podcast, please visit us at anchor.fm/Bravo Zulu podcast. The information, views, and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely of myself, Joshua Moore, and the individuals involved, and do not necessarily represent the DoD, DON, or those of the respected institutions or organizations. Thanks for joining us.